Welcome to Unscripted Coding. Today, in front of you is my newest website called politepost.net. You can try it out, but very quickly the demo is that you can turn a really badly written email to something you'd be more comfortable sending to, say, a client or your boss's boss's boss. So very quick demo. Let's say we do something fairly slang and mean. Yo, what's up? You're a terrible person and you work too slow. Obviously, you should never send this out to anyone, really, but especially in this kind of language, lawsuit waiting to happen. So you click Fix My Email. It'll send it off to GPT3, and it'll translate it to something more professional. So, good morning. I hope this message finds you well. I wanted to express my concern about the pace of your work, blah, 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 blah. So, a lot more formal. Now, you might be thinking, where have we built this before? Well, first things first, the first step we built was we just played with the OpenAI Playground. So if I take something like this, okay, and give it the instructions, please rephrase the following email to be professional. And we click submit. This was video 1. We played around with a bunch of different prompts, and you can see that kind of similar language. I'm feeling frustrated with the pace of your work. And you can do all sorts of things. So this is one idea, but you might rephrase the following email to be a song lyric, or a poem, or something entirely different, a novel, a script. And this is the response you'd get. Now, what's beautiful about OpenAI is you can view the code, and you can see how this would look in Node.js, in JSON, in curl, and of course in Python. The second video we did was we created an Azure function to act as a middleman. Now this might strike you as odd, but we could have taken the JSON and sent it over directly to OpenAI's AI. Okay, ask for completion, send these various this JSON over and get a response back. But there are a couple problems. The first is that it costs money. So you want to make sure that fewer people have access to your OpenAI as possible. You don't want it out on the web so that you, I, and all your friends and family can start churning all of their things through your account. It'll just raise your bill. Number 2 is similar vein. You don't want to expose this API key. And that's really one of the major limiting factors. If you didn't really care about that, you can write this all in one single HTML page. And so if you're doing this locally on your computer, it makes a lot of sense to send, I don't know, an AJAX call to OpenAI's API. Just have your API key wide open because you're the only one, presumably, who can actually access that key. So that's one way, but you definitely don't want your API key out there. The other thing is you might have a bit of a secret sauce. So I had rephrased the following email to be professional. That's not the current prompt. There is a bit of an art. You might want to add a couple adjectives. You might want to add a bit of context, just little bits and pieces that you don't want to share because let's say I think this is a great idea. I don't want everyone else to be able to replicate my results. Not that this was terribly difficult, but if you started doing something very specific, a song lyric from the 1970s written by X, Y, and Z, I also want a splash of Dr. Seuss, and you know, if you start really building out your prompt to be something very proprietary, very specific, you don't want it spread out either. So our second video was putting that middleman in between the front end and OpenAI AI. So that middleman, we built an Azure function where you can send the call to our Azure function. It will add various prompts to it, but it will also contain your API key, and it'll go all the way to OpenAI. So middleman in your three-piece deal. How does this look? Well, let's take a peek at the code here. From the top, I have my very standard website header. The head, you have a bunch of meta SEO type of things, and then I used Bootstrap and jQuery to make this work. But what is interesting here is our send GPT function. This activates when I click the button, send AI. This is this big blue button right here. And what it does is it takes your text area, the email you've written, and throws it to that send GPT function. So then it goes to my Azure function, and I'm putting it out here because you have multiple controls that you can start putting once you have an Azure function. One of them is the origin of those calls. So you could build another app, and you could try and use this exact same code, but it wouldn't let you. For me, it has to come from that politepost.net domain name. Anywhere else, if I use abc.com or abc.org, it will just throw up an error. So it recognizes who's sending that call. Next up, we send the prompt over. It'll wipe clean, put up the spinner, and at the very end, when you get a response, you throw that response into that bottom box right here. So not a lot of magic here, but it does show you that there are a lot of people that are playing around very creatively with the GPT-3 Playground, but not taking those next steps. Those two next steps are actually very simple. Just build out that Azure function, and you can use one function from multiple sites, which I'm doing right now. And then number two, you have a front end. And let me show you one more quick. Let me see if I can find it here. You can build a front end very quickly, and this is my prototype. People who follow this channel have seen this exact cookbook over and over. It is just an input, a button, another box, and another button. All of this bottom and top was already pre-built. So, you can build a front end in literally 5-10 minutes, probably even less if you're experienced. And then that Azure function, we walked through it in like 20 minutes. So if you put a half hour to an hour, you can get something workable. And then, of course, the more you want to polish a design, the more you want to add little flares like this rewriting text thing, the more time you add to the project. But what I want to say is that GPT-3 is amazing. Rewrite the following email to be a poem. Okay, lots of different ways you can use this, lots of different ways you can build apps, plugins, extensions, what have you, and it's not going to take a terrible amount of work, and it's suddenly opening up a lot of doors. So I encourage you to try and look at those previous two videos and piece them together and build something, because it really doesn't take long, and some of these are just absolutely magical. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you'll stay tuned next week, and we will work on yet another project. Thanks.